Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Haitian American Caucus, our first series for our Black History Month event. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. My name is Sam Pierre, and I am the executive director. And I'm excited to have my co-host with me here today, Naomi Bellany. How are you, Naomi Bellany?
I'm great. It's wonderful to be back with you today. Last month was so much fun that once this came up, it was a no brainer to do this again.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we are ecstatic to have this program today over here at the Haitian American Caucus. And how you feeling today? Like,
It's
let's get it out a
Friday.
little bit. It's
Friday is
Friday.
always a great day. It's Friday. It's the
Okay.
end of the work week. It's good. It's a start for the holiday weekend. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that we're able to have this conversation. So it's good. How about you? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really excited. I'm really happy because I feel like programs like this is extremely important, and so many times people don't get to celebrate Black History Month and Haitian Black History Month. And people don't understand that we have a lot of history within our own culture, and arguably, if it wasn't for Haitian Black history, we may not even have Black history in this country because we were the ones that kicked off the revolution. But we'll get into that a little bit later, and we'll talk more about that. So
Yep.
I'm just excited. Like you said, it's Friday. It's always good to have you on here, sis, and for us to really bring these programs out to our community.
No, this is great. This is great.
Um, so before we jump right in, I just want to invite everybody. I'm letting people come in. Let your friends know. Let people know. HAC, we're on here. We're live on our Facebook channel. We're live on our YouTube channel. We're here to provide real amazing programming for our community. Check us out at our website, www.hacglobal.org/join. Join the organizations, be a part of the programming that we're doing, and and let's change the world.
Let's do this.
Let's change the world. All right, so let's jump right in. So we got a beautiful panel and a beautiful topic that we want to talk about today, and I think we want to introduce our panel. What do you think, sis?
I think that would be the great thing to do right now. Let's just jump
Okay,
in.
let's jump right in. So our first panelist we're going to bring in is Mr. Alvin Boucher.
Yes. Yes, Alvin is an educator, and I am going to toss it to you to introduce yourself briefly to the audience.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Alvin Boucher. I'm currently a history teacher at Uncommon Schools. I am also Haitian American. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Good to
Awesome.
have you, Al, man. We appreciate you, man. Libra love out here, baby.
Appreciate it.
All day, man. We appreciate having you, Albin. Next up on our panelists, we have Mr. Mac Gwyn. Mac, what's going on, man? How you doing, brother? Mac, you on mute, my brother. You on mute, Mac.
Now, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, man.
Here
We can hear
we
you. You're
go. Here we
good.
go. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. Mac, we're excited to have you, man. You representing one of the partners of HAC here today, man, and we're really excited to have you, man. Tell us about
Yeah.
Mac. Tell us who Mac is. I see you got that purple and gold on here. We're making exceptions today, man. You know what I mean? We love our
Hey,
purple and gold brothers, though, man. We love y'all, man. We show more love to purple and gold than a lot of other people, man. So
you know
listen, man.
they save the best for last, right?
Oh my God, here we
Yeah,
go.
there
Here
you
we
go.
go, man. Here we go. Mac,
Yeah, but
talk to us,
no.
man.
So my name is Mac, and yeah, I am one of the members of NAMA, which is the National African American Mental Health Association, and we cater to all things mental health worldwide to our African American communities, and it's great that we're talking about the Black Caucus and the Haitians today. And so I definitely look forward to our conversation, and I'm just happy to be here.
Wonderful, Matt. Man, we're happy that Nama is represented heavy. We know that mental health is something that is huge in in our community. I was just reading and talking to someone the other day that talked about how suicide rates amongst African American males have increased in the last year. So we're really excited to see the programming and the work that NAMA, National African American Mental Health Association, is going to be doing in the community, and we're really excited to be a partner.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
no,
thank you for being
I
here,
look
man.
forward to our continued partnership as well with HAC.
Wonderful, man. Last but not least, man that needs no introduction, Ralph Thomas, right? My brother, man.
Hey, Ralph.
Hi, good.
Ralph Thomas, man, another distinguished gentleman from a very, 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 very amazing fraternity. I believe it's Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I heard of those guys. I think those guys are
Man.
amazing. Ralph Thomas is also he's also served in numerous capacities here at HAC, run our health and wellness programs, and is a health expert. So Ralph, introduce yourself, man. Talk to the people a little bit.
Hi, good afternoon, Sakpase. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ralph Thomas. I'm a healthcare executive in the New York City area, along with the chaplain and founder for Alpha Phi Alpha Tau Beta Lambda Haiti chapter.
Okay.
Excited to be here this evening just to discuss the history, and proud to be a Black man in America today.
Amazing, man. Ralph, we're really, really excited to have you, man. So before we go in, we do have our co-founder for the Haitian American Caucus, and another distinguished gentleman, Sam Darwin, who is here all the way from the country of Haiti, who's our co-founder. We don't really get to co-host events like this together, so this is like history happening right now. So, Mr. Darwin,
history in the making.
What's up, brother? How are you?
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? I'm excited to be here. Nayo, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing, Nayo?
Big hugs, big hugs.
I see St. Pierre here. I see my brothers here. Ralph, what's going on? I'm excited to be here. Sorry for the delay, but this is going to be an interesting and an exciting conversation. So thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is dope. I think this is great. It's phenomenal. Again, I just want to remind people who are watching, feel free to go to our website, www.hacglobal.org/join, to learn more about HAC and all the work that we're doing here in the U.S. and in Haiti. So we are tremendously excited to get this going. So let's jump right in. I'm going to jump in with a few information tidbits, right? So we have Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. I hope I say his name right, right?
Point du Sable.
Point du Sable, right? Who is the founder? Point du Sable. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, who is the founder of Chicago, right? So I'm just gonna open it up to anybody who wants to talk about why is that important. A Haitian man was the founder of the city of Chicago, one of the top 5 cities in this country. And I don't know if everybody knew that a Haitian man founded the city of Chicago. So I'm gonna jump to you, Mac, real quick, man. How do you feel about that? Do you think that the Haitian community knows, or the African American community? Why do you think that's important in Haitian Black history?
I mean, I think it's extremely important, and it's not something that is conveyed much, especially outside of the Haitian community. We might know it as Haitians, but as African American history, it's not something that is shared. And I think it's something that needs to be taught. But we know why African American or Haitian American history isn't taught. We all know the reason why. But
no, Matt, you can't do it. You gotta tell us, man. You gotta tell us. We got a whole educator here. We got Alvin here because I'm coming to you next, Alvin. I want to know why y'all not teaching Haitian history or African American history in the education systems, man. Like, let's talk about that a little bit, man.
Well, I guess I could kick it off to the educator.
No. I want to hear you first. You first, Matt, and then we'll go to the educator.
Well, so for me, my understanding and how I see it is that Haitian independence wasn't accepted by anyone. It wasn't accepted by America, and it wasn't accepted by the French. Obviously, we had to pay back reparations to the French after we've gotten our freedom, and so that wasn't taught, and it was forsaken upon. And as we know, it all caused the Louisiana Purchase because there were some Haitians living in the area, and it was a big mess, and it wasn't taught. And till this day, it's not taught in history, even after the Haitian American Revolution. Many support that we have. It's just one of those things that are not taught, and I think it's time for us to change course, change the status quo of that.
Oh, no, that's deep. I mean, well, before we go to Alvin as an educator to talk more about that, Naomi, as a parent, like, how do you feel about that? Like, Haitian American, African American history, Black History Month, and then a second layer, which will be Haitian history.
That's a very good question. As you all may or may not know, I have 3 young kids who are elementary aged, and so before the kids went into school, I have been very intentional in ensuring that if the schools are not going to teach them, I will teach them. Me and my husband will teach them, because I don't want to put it on the schools. They may have curriculums, they may have stuff that they have to teach the kids, which is important. And if they don't choose to fit that topic in, I'm going to fit it in. So like for example, our family loves the Hamilton movie, and we listened to all the songs, and my son was doing some history homework the other day, and they were talking about Lafayette, and because he's so familiar with it, he just knew right away what that was about. So we really tried to incorporate that ourselves and not be totally reliant on outside factors to educate our children from that standpoint.
Wow, that's really enlightening and dope, and I think that's great. Like that we can be the ones to educate our own children, and not only rely on the system. But Alvin, you are in the system. You're an educator. What's going on, man? Talk to us. Why we're not teaching these Black kids about African American history, especially the Haitian Caribbean kids?
Great question. I kind of want to give you an analogy, right? So essentially what you have here is the teacher. I'm a teacher. I'm in the field. I'm doing what needs to be done. I'm with the kids every day. I get a lesson plan. The lesson plan is not created by the principal. The lesson plan is not created by the superintendent. These lesson plans and the content and the curriculum are created by the chancellors of New York City, right? With that being said, in that space, there's a lot of political things that we're not aware of that happens on this level. And essentially what it is that we're just told to teach what that is. As a teacher, it's hard enough for me to even get Rosa Parks in there sometimes, right? A lot of times it's hard to kind of get different points of views on certain things. So similar to what Ms. Pierre talked about, what we need to do as Haitian Americans is start teaching them at home. Please don't depend on teachers like me to give your kid a whole history lesson or a whole lifetime lessons on just how Haiti was the first republic or any other type of knowledge. I truly believe that it starts at home, and that as a teacher, I'm just here to add on to it and corroborate and go back and forth. The reason why Haitian history is not taught in schools is because African American history is barely taught in schools.
Yeah, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead, please.
So during this conversation, a thought just came to mind. When I went to pick up my son from school, he had like a white cardboard paper, and his homework for the weekend is to draw someone from Black history. Guess who mommy's gonna make him draw? Someone from Haitian history. That's what he's gonna do to explain.
Right, so that he can explain to his classmates and teachers, what that means. Sam, did you want to add a point there, or Ralph?
Yeah, I think it's, as someone who's grown up in the New York City Board of Education system, yes, you have the assignments that happen during Black History Month, and especially as a first generation child here, parents are working hard. Yes, it's not saying they don't have the time to teach it, but it's also the awareness to say, knowing of Haitian history, but also now having to learn African American history to teach it, you're kind of reliant on the educators to kind of give that platform. Right. Especially nowadays, the technology is more accessible to do so. But I can think back then, the encyclopedia wasn't really exciting to open.
Right.
But it's one thing to learn the history about Pont du Sable, and I think in high school I learned about it, and then in my early 20s in college to actually go to Chicago and see the monument.
Right, the monument. Yep.
Gives you a sense of Haitian pride. Like, wow, this is actually real. I didn't just read it in a book, but he actually founded a whole city. Gives you a sense of accomplishment and heritage. As a Black man in America, but especially being Haitian.
No, 100%. Sam, I'm going to ask you a question. In terms of, for those that don't know, we have our school in Haiti, where we have elementary, junior high school, and a high school there. And I know Black History, we don't have Black History Month in Haiti, but give us a snippet of how we're incorporating that into our school and our other schools in Haiti. I can only speak to our school. How other schools in Haiti are they incorporating, history, because it's not like they need the Black history because they're in a Black country, right? But how is that whole thing done with schools in Haiti in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that in of itself is a very, complicated question in the sense of, they're teaching Haitian history, but even the Haitian history that they're teaching is a very mellowed down, softened version of Haitian history, right? And I've seen this time and time again, not only at the schools that we run in Haiti, but at so many other schools where, the idea, because I think with the Haiti context, what you have to understand, after our independence, the folks who came back to write the Haitian history books were the same people that we had tried to expel. So the history around the real kind of Haitian revolution led and fought by Black folks is really kind of marginalized, right? And there's a reason why in Haiti where they celebrate the death of Dessalines and not the life of Dessalines, right? That does something.
That's interesting.
Very interesting, very interesting. So there's a lot of very subliminal things that just looking at the Haitian curriculum in terms of what's taught, that is absolutely biased. But no, they're not taught about Black American history, and the Haitian history that they're taught is, to me, very watered down. It takes a school to do a lot of additional research to really give the students in Haiti kind of the real and the unfiltered version of that history.
Wow, that is that's very interesting, man. And it's interesting because we won't even know that.
There's one other quick thing that I would like to say, especially I think us as Haitian Americans, right? If we're going to be really real, I know my experience growing up in Brooklyn, while junior high school, I learned a little bit of Black history, but I think for most of us as first generation Haitians, we knew of Martin Luther King, we knew of Malcolm X, but I also think that for many of our parents, the African American experience was something very different for them, and even something that most of our parents, in my opinion, shied away from, because I think culturally, when it came to, do-rags, for instance, right? I know in my household, that was a big no-no, right?
Absolutely.
The perception of baggy pants being a Black American thing was a big no-no. So I think growing up as Haitian Americans, our perspective on this is definitely different. But of course, now as adults, we understand that our story as Haitian Americans is tied into the African American story, and the African American story is tied into the Haitian American story.
Now, you brought up a good point, Sam. That's a hot topic. That's a hot topic right there.
I think Mac
you want to jump in?
That's his cue right there.
No. So I want to apologize for our parents though, because I think it was because of the era that they came into to America as well. So it's not that they shied away from the African American history, especially they came at an older age as well. But I think it was due to the era that they came in. And so during that time frame, yeah, you couldn't wear do-rags because you're considered vagabond. You couldn't tag your pants because you're considered vagabond. So that era and that time frame that they embarked to United States also did a disservice to them as well, which also did a disservice to us growing up.
Agreed.
Yeah.
No, that's deep, man.
And that's why it's important that we are intentional. Like we have to step outside of what we do every day to learn and teach as well.
Right.
So so there's this saying by Winston Churchill. I'm totally paraphrasing it. You have to learn your history so that you don't repeat it. Right.
Right.
So Matt,
Sankofa.
you tell me what does that mean to you?
You have to learn your history so you don't repeat it. Well, I'll speak as a Haitian. You definitely need to learn your Haitian history, because if you don't, then you go back into selling yourself short. And what I mean selling yourself short is, after we've gotten our independence, no one had the right to tell us to pay reparations. We didn't know any better. So therefore, we need our history in our personal lives so we don't sell ourselves short moving forward.
I agree. I agree. Does anyone else have any thoughts on the dangers of not learning your history because it may affect your future?
I think I would add one thing and say that it's so complex, right? My brother just mentioned the fact of Haiti paying reparations. If you look at the era that was done, that was under Boyer. And Boyer, if we're being honest, was a mulatto that actually sided with the French and thought that he was a Frenchman. So there's all these nooks and crannies in history that if you don't really delve into it, we would think, oh, it's the Haitians, right? The Haitians, but, at the end of the day, this was a Haitian president that was a mulatto that, really thought he was a Frenchman. So he thought it not robbery to pay the French, these reparations. So there's a lot of, intricacies in our history, for sure.
There's so much you just said there, brother. There's so much you just said. From when you started talking about how we teach Haitian history in Haiti and how we celebrate Dessalines' death, not his life, to what you just said, it makes sense. And it makes sense as to why Dessalines wrote the Constitution the way he wrote it. And I'm gonna leave that right there. I'm gonna leave that right there.
We're gonna have a second teacher. We're gonna have a second.
I'm not a Haitian teacher. I just love my country and I love my independence and I love being this. I love Black.
Right.
There's so much history.
Yeah. We may have to do a second. We're gonna do a second one, but we may have to do another series, because the thing is, I'm gonna be honest. Even me, who's all about Haiti and all Haiti, there's so many, like Sam, like you said, intricacies that I'm even learning about, right? Like that even us who would think that we know everything, we're learning about. Even to prepare for this program, I'm learning about Haitian people who did, so much great, amazing work, right? Like real talk, right? Even before this program, I got a picture of Basquiat behind me. I'm learning about how, Basquiat, who's Haitian, his family didn't even get anything. It's not even getting any money from all the money that's he's.
That's wild.
All that money that people, millions of dollars, Basquiat, his Haitian family, the Haitian side of his family is still not seeing a penny. Right.
Well, so can you just step back a little bit and explain to the viewers who Basquiat is and what you're referring to?
Okay, so Jean-Michel Basquiat was a very famous painter, Haitian, half Haitian, half I think his mother was Puerto Rican, but very famous. One of the most famous painters from New York City, and one of the cultural leaders, right, in the 80s, early 90s, and he, if you anywhere you go in America, if you see a little king sign, right, with a little dragon, that comes from Jean-Michel Basquiat. And back then, they didn't really praise him until his death. Then he really became big. Some of your favorite rappers and influencers, they all really went out of their ways to get their hands on these timeless Basquiat pieces, right? And they talk about them in their rap songs. They talk about them in the culture, and how his pieces are now at $4 million, $5 million, right? And how the Black culture has embraced Jean-Michel Basquiat, right? But do they talk about the fact that Jean-Michel Basquiat was Haitian? Do they talk about how, the Haitian culture that comes with Jean-Michel Basquiat? And exactly, the Brooklyn Nets actually have a Jean-Michel Basquiat jersey, right, that they portrayed for like a whole year. I think it was 2 seasons ago, and I got one of those because it meant so much, right? But talking about Haitian history, all the kids love the colors, right? It's very colorful. It's very dope. Sometimes when I'm on a train, I see people wearing Basquiat jackets and book bags, but do they know who he is? Right. Do they know where he came from? Do they know why his paintings meant so much? Do they understand that Haitian? Really, we dominated the paintings market, right? But do people even know that? Like, so when you talk about Black history,
they know that now.
When you talk about Black history and you talk about Jean-Michel Basquiat, do they really understand his background and his culture and the impact that his father, right, had in the Haitian community, being in America in the early 80s?
Mm-hmm. And then let me add an extra thought to that, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. So I used to have, and I'm just switching gears here a little bit. I used to have this statue of Negmawon, right? And for those who are watching and who are unfamiliar with Negmawon, it's a statue of like a near naked fugitive man with a what do you call it? A shell or a horn, and this statue essentially is the representation of the Haitian freedom and liberation. Right. So I had it, right? Like once you walk into my house, it was right there. But from a cultural thing, this is based on what Sam D was talking about earlier. I had some older church ladies who came into my house and said, this statue represents some spirits and you're going to have to like move it and put it away and everything like that. Okay. So can we talk about this dynamic of, why the statue, which represents our liberation, our freedom, but then I guess basically maybe what's taught in Haiti, it's, they associated with spirits and all that stuff.
My mom might be on this live. I'm not speaking to this.
Ralph, you want to take a stab? I'd like to hear Ralph's perspective on this, man.
Wow, that's an interesting question, but I think it goes to show, one, the time frame of our independence in terms of the symbolism that statue represents, but how the country and the theory of religion has also expanded over time throughout the country, so that different religious persons may think differently of the statue, but I think to the core, it still represents the true meaning of the independence that we had to get and help us move forward. But I think it can be turned into some kind of symbolism of, some people may think it's positive or negative, but at the end of the day, I think it's still a symbolism that is a forefront of our republic.
Alvin, let me throw the question to Alvin. Do you, like, the young people growing up, because you're dealing with them every single day and you teaching history, right? Do they ever even ask, like during Black History Month, like, what is that statue that everybody talks about? Or like, X, Y, and Z, or even the ones that are Haitian?
My personal school, no, they don't ask nothing about Haitian history, even my Haitian students. What I find most startling is a lot of young people are so disconnected from Black history itself. They only know the main characters. So there's a lot of work, main characters being Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and that's as far as it goes. Langston Hughes, and that's it. Actually, I think we need in these schools a renaissance of just this, of just Haitian history as well as African American history as well. But no, to answer your question, they don't ask about the statue or anything Haitian history related.
Mac, Palamunyo Mac. Negmawon culture, religion, history.
Well, for me, I think, like everybody said, Negmawa symbolizes our freedom, regardless of how you look at it and tie it into the spirituality of our country. But what it replicates is the total freedom. And your fellow Alpha Phi Alpha, Dr. King, actually said that in his speech. One of his speech where he said that the spirit of a free man will never be broken, which is actually what Negmawa means. And so we can tie in the spirituality or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, that's our Statue of Liberty, and that's how we replicate our freedom in Haiti.
That was well put, man.
Yeah.
That was well put. The Omegas outnumbered 3-1. So he's outnumbered 3-1. So he had to really he had to bring it. You know what I mean? So I get that. So I guess
that's perfect.
Sam, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, my brother just said it. Like, that is our Statue of Liberty. It looks like us. It spoke our language. It had our religion, and that is who we are. The issue is that we've been so indoctrinated, and this is, divide and conquer 101. You teach them to hate their skin color, their language, and their religion. You no longer have a people. And there has been so much money, resources, schools, missions poured into creating this effect in Haiti. It is absolutely unbelievable. Naomi, the reason why those older Haitians had a problem with the Negmawon, because at the end of the day, we all are clear that the Haitian Revolution started with a ceremony at Bois-Caïman. Point blank, period. I don't care.
Nah, Sam, you gotta tell us a little bit. You gotta tell us, our people, a little bit.
Inform the viewers.
Really quickly. You gotta talk about that so they understand.
I mean, so Bois-Caïman was pretty much due to so much oppression. And that shell, that conch shell that the Negmawon had in his hand, that was a communication method to gather the slaves at the time, right? So what Negmawon is doing, that is symbolic of letting everyone know, no matter where you were at, once you heard the conch horn, that was a sign to either gather somewhere for an important information. Sometimes even how they whistled into the conch, shell was passing a message. This is African Black brilliance at its best. They have an issue with it because it reminds them of voodoo. That if you're a Christian, you automatically feel a way about it. And let's go even deeper. There's so much that is being done, even currently in Haiti, around this, right? Where anything that looks like us, that speaks our language, that has our skin tone, for some reason is minimized. And to further that, keeping on the same track of religion, there's a reason why so many, Haiti is heavily deforested. And no one's going to tell me, oh, it's because Haiti's so poor. Every country went through this. But when you have missionaries telling people that that the voodoo spirits are in the trees, and the only way to rid yourself and to deliver yourself from them is to cut down these trees. That is what you have, right? When we are taught that, all the leaves that we use, that all of modern medicine is based on now, is diabolic and it's witchcraft and it's Satan.
It
this
healed
is
a
what we-
lot of my stuff.
I'm
Don't
still
I
Green
use those
Basquiat is still a
teas.
plant.
I pray over
Green
it. I don't
Basquiat
care what
is
they
a plant.
Okay.
I'll go
Right.
to Sam's point, and those things are still in modern day history, present time right now, dealing in healthcare, where yes, we have medication as a healthcare executive, but predominantly 60% of my emergency room is Black, African Americans, centralized with Jamaica area, Jamaican, Haitian. So plenty of our folks have come into the ED, and I know that when they get home, whatever the doctor told them, they're not listening. And these are the traditions that have been passed on from generation to generation, hundreds of years, which is within us. And these are the practices that unfortunately will never go away, no matter how much oppression is being put, or the image of another person of not self-image within the country. Unfortunately, those practices are at home, but it takes one generation to pass it on to the next. And that's why I'm excited about this program today, because one, I got to learn about many of the leaders and influencers of our history, but especially for African Americans, allowing us to have some of the fruit of their labor for being pioneers in this country of America. I want to make sure that others learn about not only the African American history, but the Haitian history also. If we don't do it, nobody else would.
No,
Ralph,
100%.
quick question. How do you deal, especially in the healthcare? Because I know in Haiti we see this a lot. Like, people don't know, because there's so much misinformation. People don't know if it's like a medical issue, or if it's like a spiritual thing. Do you deal with that in the hospital system with Haitians, with just other Caribbeans, Africans? How do you guys deal? Like, how do you bridge that gap between understanding the cultural nuances and modern day medicine, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question that you asked. So, part of my building is they do a lot of focus on patient experience. And because we have a high volume of Haitian, Jamaican, Nigerian, Ghanaian individuals, we've actually done passport programs within the building to educate the other providers in the building. When you encompass a Jean-Marie who comes in very elderly, quiet, she's not looking you in the eye, she's saying, not even responding to what you're saying, these are the cues that something may be wrong, but you have to peel back the onion to figure out what are the causes of this person being here today, and focusing on, okay, what's your diet like? What are you taking? This is not your first run on with blood pressure. What are you doing at home currently? And especially when diagnosing them, is making sure, okay, what are you doing at home that may counteract the medication that I'm giving to you right now? So we make sure that we tell our providers and try to educate them as much, so that they can have a connection with the individual patient, but also with their caregivers also, who are usually us, the younger generation, to make sure they understand, these are the medication that need to take. This is how often. There might be a side effect, and what will the side effect do to them, especially with how they're eating, and especially with how it will affect them, because they'll take it, you can come on, say they could start with the medication. It's like, oh, it gives me a headache, it gives me another onset. So it's like, how do we counteract that? It's just by making sure that we understand culturally that they're going to take this ginger tea to try to affect the headache every day. They have the high pressure, every day I wake up with a headache, I don't know what it is, but unfortunately it takes us as a community to raise these concerns and become healthcare professionals, get in the field also.
That's right.
So that we can teach others, because if we go to an environment where there's no one in the room who understands, or no one in the building understands what's happening to this person, we will never break the barriers.
Right. That's really deep, what you're saying, Ralph. And I'm happy that you mentioned Haitians need to go into the healthcare system so that we can help change that. And I know there's so many Haitian doctors and Haitian revolutionaries that are doing great work around healthcare and the healthcare systems. And I would love for us to talk a little bit about that. We might have to do a program like that just for the Health and Wellness Committee. Yeah, we're gonna have to do
that's a whole other program.
That's a whole different program. But before we go, we talked a lot about the guys. Naomi, let's talk about some Haitian women.
Yes.
Who's done some phenomenal things. Because I know we got some women that are going to be watching that would love to learn more about like what has some Haitian women done for Haitian Black history.
So I'll talk about two people, and then I'll just talk about a general thing. So Catherine Flon, right? I'm saying it in the American way. Catherine Flon.
Don't do that. Put some respect on the name.
Put some accent on that thing.
Get that shit voice out, bro.
Okay, c'est lui-même. She is the person when we're rocking our Haitian flags and all of our Haitian gear, our Haitian flags. She was the first seamstress of the Haitian flag. And while what her creation was the red and blue in more of a vertical versus the other way, but this was also a sign of our independence because Jean-Jacques Dessalines, he ripped the white stripe that was in between the red and the blue, and then put the red and blue together and create our Haitian flag, right? So that's one person, Catherine Flon. And then the other one who I'm completely fascinated with, and I may jack up her last name, but Marie-Louise Croix-David, I think. But she was Haiti's only queen.
Wow. That's so deep. I was just learning about that. People don't even know that Haiti had a king and a queen.
Haiti had a
lot of people don't even know that Haiti had a king. I was telling some people that this week.
Yeah, I can't wait to tell my daughters about her, and just to teach them her history. That Haiti had queens. We Haitian women have to treat ourselves as the queens that we are because we come from queens. Period. Right? And then just to wrap it all up, yes, we have the women who were instrumental in Haiti, but let's talk about what's going on now that people are making beaucoup bucks off of that Haitian women have been doing since God knows how long, far generations back, right? We have, so I know I'm the only woman on the panel, but after we have babies, there's some steam that we do, right? This is something that Haitian women have done for years, that I've done and everything like that. This is offered at spas now for so much money. So much money, right? Or what we were just talking about with the herbs that we use for the teas and everything like that. People are studying this now. This is something that people are paying money to study and making a lot of money doing and offering. And this is stuff that we've been doing since way back. I mean, Louis Mascotti, come on now. Right? I mean, this is stuff from way back down our list of generations. Our pickles, like our pickles are like the Haitian food. Like, look at Chinese people selling Haitian food in Brooklyn. Like, there's just a lot that we Haitian women, we Haitian queens have really contributed to just the Black society.
No, I think that's great. I'm so happy you mentioned that. I literally was looking at all the different presidents and rulers and kings of Haiti, and I realized that we had kings, we had queens, we had military people, we were a republic, then we was a kingdom. So much in our rich Haitian history that I don't think people talk about. So one of the questions I want to ask everybody on this panel one by one is like, so how do we incorporate this through our K through 12 education systems, and what can we, with the need to preserve ethnic studies in the K through 12 education, like, what do you think we can do, right, as an organization where we keep Haitian pride heavy and, hot and heavy, on Haitian Flag Day? I remember, my cousins used to say they never had Haitian Flag Day in high school. I remember Haitian Flag Day in high school was huge. That was a thing. That was a thing. Like, Haitian Flag Day in high school was a thing. But the generation before us, they couldn't have Haitian Flag Day because they were Haitian booty scratchers, right? So
it wasn't cool to be Haitian.
It wasn't cool to be Haitian. When Wyclef made it cool to be Haitian, now everybody's Haitian. So it's a two-part question I'm asking the panelists. One, what can we do? What do you think we can do as organizations with our power, to keep And to get this, Alvin talked about, education starts with upstairs and the chancellor. But what do you think we can do as organizations with our power to keep that information out there? One, and number two, what's the Haitian Flag Day situation looking like nowadays? I guess that's, in high schools right now and junior high schools and elementary. So, of course, I'm going to start with you, Alvin, and we'll go around.
Great question. I'll start off with the ethnic studies prompt. But first, I want to do like a quick definition of what ethnic studies is. I believe ethnic studies access to engage in the issues of racism, colonialism, global and economic political system, the ecological devastation, health degradation, cultural vitalities, and the geographies of differentiation and discrimination, which means that ethnic studies kind of tells you about everything happening at the same time. It is every single technical that is going on. It is every single system that makes the city run. I think what Haitian American Caucus is doing is exactly the same things. You guys are dealing with racism. You guys are in the streets. You guys are in the CEO offices. You guys are in the schools. You guys are doing everything you guys need to do in order to keep bringing these things up and keep bringing these issues up to the point where somebody's going to hear about it in a certain position and then make it a law to add in these ethnic studies. The reason why I believe Haitian Flag Day is not promoted as much is because right now in New York City, I'm not too sure if you guys are familiar, but there is a war going on in the streets with a lot of young black men. Back in the day, it was crack, but now we're talking about the drill music situation happening in New York City, right? So this whole flag notion, a lot of schools didn't, and this is the reason why a lot of schools started doing a uniform thing, because there's a lot of different colors happening as well. So if you have a whole bunch of kids coming in with the Haitian flag in their back pocket, depending on which side, that can be a threat to another gang member, and then it's a whole thing. I'm pretty sure the city move away with that. And they also certain schools also want to move away with different metal detectors as well. So it's a very political situation. That's what I believe the reason why they don't want the Haitian Flag Day in there, just for a safety reason. But I do commend organizations such as Haitian American Caucus for bringing up this conversation of ethnic studies and bringing it into the schools. In order for it to get back into the schools, I'm pretty sure you guys know we have to talk to the right people. So, yeah, that's good.
I think for me, it's understanding the power of education, which Alvin was saying, and then tying it back to grassroots, which HAC is, but becoming policymakers. That's where I think we as a Haitian, as a Black people, where we can make the effective change, where we're saying, you know what they got, what's the Toussaint Louverture Avenue? What I think it was the Rogers. Right, and then Church is another name I forgot. So that's like that's the beginning.
Church is Toussaint Louverture. Jean-Jacques Dessalines is on Rogers.
See, so that's like a beginning. So now, how do we get the school zones within those areas to appreciate and honor those names on those particular days where it takes a policy? They say every school is going to say, okay, we're going to participate in this activity for this day, but it takes, of course, dollars to, get funding for a particular project and, getting experts, education, policy involved. So I think it's possible for us to do it. And, of course, growing up in Flatbush, Brooklyn, just celebrating, understanding that, politics growing up, like, oh, you don't go into politics, it's, it's not bon, like it's not good. It's kind of not to say frowned upon, but it's nothing going to happen because of the trauma that our parents went through. But now seeing, politicians, Farrah Lewis, the shot, knowing that they're Haitian woman in the community doing work, that's like, wow, it goes to show that the generation after, 2 generations after, like they have someone to look up to as a figure person to make a change in their community. So we could help support them in the work that they're doing to make these policy changes so that we can celebrate our particular days and get funding from different corporations to want to embrace and celebrate the particular day.
Yeah, no, that's big.
Wonderful.
So I mean, I guess I'll go next. I'll use one of our notional proverbs in Haiti. We all know what that means. And in order for this to happen, for us to help Alvin, who he himself cannot affect change in the policies and the chancellors and change the curriculums, right? But it's going to take people in organizations like HAC, like NAMA, and other political figures to come together and help promote and change the status quo of these changes. Now, we did mention that there are some things that are happening, right? By then, the change of the name, some of the schools being named after Haitians, those things are very prominent, but we're still very at the base level of what our education can be. I mean, even in the African American history, we're still at the minute level of what is taught. You got to remember, African American history is really not taught in schools. You know what's taught in schools? Slavery. That's African American history. Slavery is. And so how do we change that? It's going to take a handful. It's going to take all of us to realize, hey, there's need to be a change. And we're continuing to do that. Let's not stop. Let's keep our foot in the gas and let's hit it full steam.
And I think Naomi said it earlier, truly, like, we have to go where the money's at. And I think she said it where they're taking these ideas and concepts and creating them into full-fledged businesses and corporations and, you know, the beauty influencers, the food industry. It's easily that we have plenty of influencers in that area where they're taking the basic knowledge that we have and creating millions of dollars just off of it. So, and I think we know, how do we use them and the influencers within that space and the fashion, art, music, you know, what may be deemed popular to come back to the community to do some of this work.
100%.
Yeah, if I could just chime in real quick, they have been stealing our legacy since they landed on our shores in Africa. They've been stealing all that we've had from our medicine, from our technology, our agricultural systems. They've been stealing it from day one. Naomi, I have to go back to you because we have to talk about the Haitian woman here. In that, you know, when it comes to Haiti, you know, from its inception and everything that even made us, you know, we speak about the Dessalines, we speak about the Toussaint Louverture, but really, if it was not for the people like Catherine Flon that were really, and I even dare to say they were that they were backstage, because so much of what Haitian women were allowed to do was so instrumental to the revolution, right? From taking care of the indigenous army when they got hurt, from knowing the recipes to poison the Frenchmen, right? All of that was the Haitian woman. They were the ones that possessed and that had the abilities and the intellect to do that. So shout out to that. And then moving forward, when we talk about the education system, we see right now there is this modern day fight right now, right? And it's around this critical race theory, right? This critical race theory where everyone is bringing this up where, oh my gosh, we have to be careful how we teach history. We don't want certain folks to feel like we are attacking them, to feel uncomfortable in their schools. What? And as my brother said, we have spent decades, and still today, Black history is only about slavery, right? We get the Martin Luther Kings, maybe, right? Depending on our teacher, they will stick to slavery and make it seem as if slavery was darn near a good thing. So this whole idea of critical race theory and not making certain groups of people feel uncomfortable, we really gotta fight for that, right? Because again, the one thing that's uncomfortable is being whipped. The one thing that's uncomfortable is working and not getting paid for it. The one thing that's uncomfortable is seeing your wife, your daughter, your son being raped, being sold to somebody else. The one thing that is uncomfortable is having to have the federal government come in and desegregate schools. The one thing that is uncomfortable is redlining, where Black folks can't get mortgages, and one school, because of the demographics, has certain funding and the other school does not. That's what's uncomfortable. So this whole thing of critical race theory and what it's doing to our schools, that ties directly into Black history and really making sure that students and that kids have the proper information.
Wow, powerful. Sam D took an MLK on us, man.
Yo,
Well, slash
Stole it.
Malcolm X. Slash Malcolm X. He did a hybrid.
Don't forget the slash.
Yeah,
He did a
let me
hybrid
just
on us.
add
Wow.
something to everything that you guys have said so far. You know, one of the quotes that I heard the other day, I took it and I ran with it. If you don't have a seat at the table, you become the menu. Right? And that goes back to those of us who are on here having to be intentional when we are with young people, speak their language, even though we don't understand half of it, right? But speak their language, try to incorporate history into everything. So that way they're always learning it, because if we're not the ones who are going to teach it correctly, they will, as Max said, learn that Black history is about slavery.
No, 100%. And I think that is so profound. What you said, I mean, what everybody here talked about today, man. Just having a conversation about some of the the folks that we learned about, like and some of the people that we didn't mention, like Mary Louise. Oh, you did mention Mary Louise or Raoul Peck.
The filmmaker.
The filmmaker, Claudinette Fouchard, right? Who's Miss Haiti, right? So we encourage everybody to go and, in the spirit of what we're doing today, Black History Month and Haitian history, go out there, do some research. We're on Google, we're on the internet all day long. Take 3 minutes out of your day to go learn about your Haitian history and how people who look like you, have the same blood as you, are doing, what they did back in the day to create, to build roads so that you can walk on today. So I think that's really important and really dope. Again, if you haven't joined HAC, go to our website, www.hacglobal.org/join, to join us, to be a part of these conversations, to learn more about the work that we're doing here in the U.S. and in Haiti. Sam, if you want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff going on in Haiti, everybody's like, oh, we're scared of Haiti. But Sam, tell us a little bit about what's happening in our school and in the beautiful country of Haiti.
I mean, people, right now, I would really say that things are definitely, Haiti's going through a very rough patch. Haiti has gone through rough patches in the past. Here at HAC, we are continuing to empower our kids, empower the community. Our school, one of our flagship schools, is actually in Guadeloupe, which, if you guys know, between the kidnapped missionaries and everything else, we are at ground zero. But nonetheless, we are doing as much as we can. There's going to be a point where we reach critical mass. There is still hope. Our kids are graduating from high school. We have a university and vocational program for them. And even though it's not easy, but we continue to to do what we can. So on this end, the Haitian American Caucus, we are not losing hope. Things are definitely not the way they should be, but we are pressing on.
Good deal.
And also, in the name of history, Tau Beta Lambda, the Haiti Alphas, if you look us online, Haiti Alphas, we are hosting a oratorical contest where the first prize will get $500 USD for a student in Haiti from 15 to 24, where they'll talk about exactly what we're talking about. What does community mean and what does the hope mean to change in Haiti? And they'll be able to participate, and there'll be first, second, and third prize winners, and they can find all that information on Haiti Alphas at Instagram and Facebook.
Wow, Ralph, are you saying that we're part of Haitian history too, as charter members of the first
We
first
are
chapter
history.
In Haiti, man?
We are creating, and the best part about it, we're creating
This
it.
is history. This is history.
Yes,
This is history, not from adversity, but from opportunity.
And that's so key, right? And that's so key is to really, have our people, just, see. I know my experience here in Haiti talking about race. It's so important for even folks in Haiti, believe it or not, to see people that look like them and that speak their language, even if it's with an American accent. Nayo, you better speak that Creole, because it means so much, right? It means so much to them, right? Many being in Haiti, where it's not maybe someone of Caucasian descent that's coming with the assistance that's speaking life into them, and that's telling them how great they are, and that's telling them the sky is the limit. That really makes a difference. And the one thing I would leave us with, because we're bridging the gap between Haiti and just African American history. I had the opportunity to bring one of my Alpha line brothers, who's African American, straight from Harlem, and I had a chance to bring him down to Haiti a couple of weeks ago, and just to have him down here and just have him understand, the similarities, right, between Haitian culture and African American culture. Some of the stereotypes or the stigmas that he held when it came to Haiti, and actually seeing him live that kind of awakening of sort was absolutely powerful, man. So this program is amazing. There's for every single topic that we spoke about tonight, Sam, Naomi, we need a whole extra program.
Program,
like Haitian woman accomplishments, education, issues in healthcare. Ralph, take that on. Like, we need a whole program.
I will take it on.
Does Green Masketti cure everything?
Work.
Like, that's
right.
Beauty also, beauty and Haitian woman, self-care coca.
No, 100%.
The Black Don't Crack episode, right?
Right, the Black Don't Crack. And the beautiful thing is, March is Women History Month, right? So maybe we can, we can do some programs around that. And then May is,
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. There's a lot. Yep, a lot of stuff that we can do. So we just want to say, thank you to everybody. Thank you. Let's give it up to all our panelists and all the people that came out tonight on a Friday night, so we can talk about Haitian history. We do have our part 2, right? Our part 2 will be next Friday, and we're probably gonna have much more ladies, right, to talk about the female side. But this is very important to us. It's very important that our people understand and learn. I hope you, as the viewers, got a chance to really learn and was inspired by what we talked about. Again, a few of our plugs. We have NAMA. Mac, if you want to talk a little bit about NAMA again, so that people can look out for that. I know NAMA's about to launch soon.
Yeah, so definitely, I appreciate that. So yeah, NAMA's definitely about to launch soon with some of our initiatives here, as we focus on mental health. And it's not mental health as you think about it in terms of being sick mentally, but it's mental health. Everything mental health, right? Especially with what we just went through with the pandemic and people staying home and all of the triggers. One of the biggest programs that we're trying to kick off is basically our recidivism, to reduce the reincarnation rate of when someone leaves the system. How do we help them not to return? And so that's one of the things that we're getting ready to launch off and working with our communities. So please be on the lookout. It's a National African American Mental Health Association. Look us up. And as we continue to partner with HAC, this is going to be big. This is going to be huge. So be on the lookout for us in the upcoming months. I think our first launch is in April, and definitely be on the lookout for us.
Wonderful. So we look forward to that. And once again, everybody, this is the Haitian American Caucus. We've been around. Y'all know us. Join us. We're gonna have a lot of volunteer opportunities, and like I said, we still need your help for our school in Haiti. We're still running our school. Kids are still going to school every day, so we still need your support. So please go to our website, HACHaiti.org, and press donate and help our school move forward. Like Ralph mentioned, we also have the Tau Beta Lambda Alphas, and you can reach out to them. How can they reach out to us and learn more about us again, Ralph?
Haiti Alphas. You can reach us on Instagram, Facebook, Haiti Alphas.
There
So
you go.
while you said that, let's not let's not forget though both Sams. So the Omegas definitely tried to partner with you guys with the Talented chapter in Haiti, but with everything going on in Haiti right now, we decided to step back. But we do definitely look forward to a partnership once things settle down.
Oh,
Let's do it, man.
Things got a little heated, and y'all took a step back, brother. Come on.
No. So you have to. So for me, listen. So for me, being a Haitian, I could come to Haiti right now. I got my zones with me. I'm good, but I'm not putting.
It's a community. It's a community.
I don't want to put any of my brothers at risk, man. No, we're definitely looking forward to future partnerships, though.
For sure. We're gonna make it happen, bro. We're gonna make it happen.
Yep.
Absolutely. So thank you again, everybody. Let's give it up for our co-host Naomi Bellany, who's always there. And
so hold on. I gotta plug Naomi real quick. Naomi. So when we first got to Haiti in 2010, right now people come to HAC in Haiti. They see our big buildings. They see the running water. They see the internet. They see the electricity. Naomi knows the tent on the second floor of the compound Haiti. Naomi knows the outhouse Haiti. Naomi knows when we were literally like, yo, what are we even like doing here, Haiti? So Naomi, it's always good to see you because I'm like, yo, like Naomi, yo, chapeau bas to you.
You're on mute.
I miss you guys so much, and I am like aching to come out there, especially with my kids. Like, I need my kids to have the experience so bad. So we gotta figure that out. We gotta get there.
For sure.
We will.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Alvin, Ralph, Mac. Thank you so much for being on the panel on behalf of HAC-US, HAC Haiti. We just want to thank all of our viewers for watching, and please, stay tuned. Like I said, next Friday, we are going to be doing part 2. Go to our Instagram to learn about more of the programs that we're doing, so you can learn more about what's happening in the U.S., what's happening in Haiti, and we are here for you. Thank you so much, everybody, and please enjoy your Friday night. Be safe, and we love you. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.